Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which will allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
Let's begin to warm up. So it's going to start with a gentle walking in place, just to get the blood to flow. So right now, I'm just walking in place. Depends on your fitness level. You can go faster or lift your legs up higher, pump your arms more than me. I like to slowly crank it up, I did a lot the last couple of days, so my bones are a little stiff, everything. So I was just slowly cranking it up like a rusty chain on a bike. Start to move. Just going through some basic movements first. And then I'm going to move. I'm going to go side to side. Bending. I'm not using my hands to support me. You can keep your hands on the hips. You can even bring your arms behind your head. You can take your arms out. That's really mostly the legs. I just don't want you to use your arms to push yourself up. So it's strengthening the muscle in the hip. I'm stretching a little into my inner thigh. Trying to keep my back flat. My hips going back is the movement. I'll turn to the side so you can see. It's my hips going back. You see my knees are staying over the ankle. I'm not pushing my knees forward. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to come up. I'm going to come back to the walking. Something to think about doing regularly, finding a regular walking. It's recommended for everybody. I mean, I run like 20 miles a week, but I still like to walk. As I travel, a lot of my travels are done via walking. I'm starting to lift my knees up higher. Making a little bit more as I broke off a level of the rust off my bicycle chain. So it's really, I'm working my arms too and shoulders. I'm going to come a little bit more on the upper part of the torso. I'm going to use a band. If you have bands, they're easy to get from stores like Modell's, if there's still any of them around, or any sporting goods stores. Even some pharmacies will have these bands. I'm just stretching the band. I'm using my upper back to do it. I'm not straightening the elbows. My elbows are straight. All the work is in my upper part of my back. A little into the arms too. So roughly I'm doing a minute of all of these these warm-ups. So I'm warming up. My hands are a little wider on the band the closer they come together, the harder it's going to be. Even just a minute of doing this is like, ooh, I feel that. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some walking before I move into the opposite of that. I'm going to work the muscles in the front of my torso. But I'm walking a little bit more, a little faster. My arms are coming up like they did last time. But I'm moving a little faster, making it a little bit more challenging. I haven't mentioned it before. If you notice when I'm moving, it's opposite arm, opposite leg. A lot of people want to do same, like this. It's not how our body is meant to move. So we're going to do a couple more seconds to get about a minute of each of this, and then a minute of presses. I'm bringing the band behind my back, over my shoulder blades, and I'm pressing away. See, I'm going to come a little, slide my hands a little further away. As we're going to come through these two upper torso routines again, just to warm up the shoulders. We haven't got into the big stuff, the squats yet, which I love to do. But I'm going to alternate. I'm going to take my arms up higher, get a little bit more into the shoulders as simulate more of the movement that we'll do when we do the squats. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to do my walking again. So I'm going to start to pick up the intensity of this just a little bit. You should be starting to feel much more warmed up than you were before when you first started. It's been almost, I guess it's going to be about 7-8 minutes. So some people are fully warmed up by this time. If you're feeling like you're still not quite there, the next exercise you may want to just go take a break and come back to walking. I'm going to go easy with it. But I will really pretty much complete our warm-up. Yeah, very important to warm up. So I'm going to come back to the exercises that I did before. The last time I said the closer my hands are together, the harder it's going to be. So if you want to make it easier, spread your hands out. Going a little bit faster, squeezing my shoulder blades together as I stretch the band out. Spread a little bit so I can get a few more seconds in with this. This is about the end of our warm-up. Because we're going to go back to the presses again, but I'm going to change that up. Making it a little more difficult. So again, we'll come back to the walking. So we're going to add the presses, but adding a rotation to a press, doing one arm at a time. So I'm going slow right now. I'm getting prepared. Just taking a nice long warm up. Some people feel 5 minutes, want to do 5-minute warm ups. Some people don't warm up at all. 10 is about what for most of us would be good for most people. So everybody should be pretty well warmed up, ready to go. So I'm gonna come back to like I did before. I'm gonna take the band over my shoulders. My shoulder blades. I'm gonna come into this. So it's like a sideways movement, like we stepped out to the side. But I'm gonna turn, straighten one arm back to center, the other side, going back and forth. Exhale, I press the band away. Inhale, I come back center. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Now you can go faster if you want. You can bring your band, grab the bands closer in, like so. So I grab my hand. And now the band is tighter, harder. If that's too much, I'm going to slide my hands away, adjusting to what you want it to be. Okay, again, just a few seconds to recover. We're going to begin with our first set of squats. I'm going to use the chair because first I'm going to demonstrate the wrong way. People like to do this when they do squats. That's very common. It's the hips. I want to bring my hips back. If that's all you do is getting this, like you're going to sit down. If we do all the time, see, I stick my hips back. And if you want to make it harder, taking the arms up. Doing a couple more. We'll come into a break. So if you want to do more, you're welcome. I'm going to come into my walking, and I'm still keeping the chair here, as I'm going to add a regular plank pose. We did the presses with the band. An alternative will be to use the chair, maybe eventually getting your hands onto the floor. By raising the ground up, using the chair makes this easier. And I'm going to attempt to, we can attempt to do push-ups or not. Just bringing your weight onto your hands. Finding that it's this plank pose. That will also work the shoulders. So the actual press, the movement up and down, will make it harder. If you don't want to make it harder, just stay with the plank or come out. So again, the back staying straight for the next exercise, again, very important. I'm going to bend forward, slide my hands down my legs. Maybe they reach the knees, maybe below the knee, but wherever you reach, keep the back straight, and then we're just going to come right back up. Inhale, I'm spinning down, and I'm coming up. As I bend, as I come forward, I'm stretching. My muscles are stretching, so when they come up, they release it's like the band, right? When you stretch the band, it builds energy. When you release the band, as I come up, it releases the energy. Doing a couple more. So we're going to do these again, but going to use the band and other things to make this more challenging. You don't have to. Let's come back. We're going to walk a little bit. We're going to do these 3 basic exercises: squats, presses, and the last one, kind of like what we might call like a good morning, like a bowing, like a sun salutation. Or maybe some people, with the weights, they could call them a deadlift. And we'll go through a few rounds. So I'm walking a little faster now, picking the speed up. So I don't even have to lift my legs up too high. And I'm slowing down, getting ready for the second round, starting with the squats. Again, using the band if you want or not. I'm going to do a little bit more challenging. You don't have to make it more challenging. I'm bringing my hips down and coming up. That's the basic move. You can just do that. Again, I keep my back straight. Stick the hips back. And if you want to make this harder, taking the arms up. As I start to work the shoulders more. Want to make this even harder. We're taking it to another higher level. I'm going to lift my heels up as I come up. And do a couple more, and then I'm going to move right into plank poses. Maybe do a couple of push-ups. Okay. Take the band. I'm going to take the band. I'm going to stand on the band. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm taking as I did before, the good mornings or squats. My back is straight. I bring my hands down to the knees and I come back up. Notice I go down slowly, coming up a little bit faster. Inhale, exhale. I release the energy. So you're coming down. This time I'm going to bring my hands down low on the band. Come up. So it's like putting more weight on. If it's too much, just slide the band down to the end. It's like putting less weight onto this. I'm going to do a couple more, and then we're going to start walking. So if you feel like you want more of any one of these exercises, go ahead. I'm going to do a minute of slow walking, just to let my heart rate return. That's the next round we've done. We're going to go one more round and we'll start doing some other exercises, maybe working our way onto the floor. As the final of these exercises, doing push-ups. Eventually, if you have access to a gym, you can do you do bench presses in the gym. Okay, I'm going to come back to squats. Again, I'm using the chair to show that I'm bringing my hips back. Again, I'm using the band. You can use dumbbells or any kind of weights, but just got to keep the back flat, the hips coming back and coming back up. Again, you can use the band or dumbbells or any weight equipment that you want. Driving into my heels. I almost fell back. That's good because you want to feel like you're going backwards. You don't want to feel your weight in the front of your feet, and that's putting the pressure into the knees. So if you want to make this harder, you can lift the knee up like that. It's a little intense, so I'm going to pause. You can do more. I'm going to come to the deadlift again. This time I'm going to use weights. So I've got very light weight here. If you go to the gym, you will see people doing this I've seen people doing this with over 400 pounds. I'm just doing a couple of pounds, but it's important to have the movement done correctly. Because with this light weight, I can do it ways that are not so good. I see people all the time. They're in the gym and they're like this. See how my back is rounding, my head is hanging down, and they come up. You do that with a lot of weight, your back is gonna be. You're risking your major injury to your back. I keep my hands on the front of my legs. My back is straight. I'm drawing my belly in. If you need a weight belt, that's okay, because that will help you, remind you to keep this midsection strong. So you can come down to your knees, come below the knees. People come down because this is done with a barbell that's on the ground. So it's probably about ankle height. Again, my back is straight. My belly draws in and I just push it up. See how I come up fast? Going down slow. You're loading up it's like you're stretching the string or the band and then coming up, releasing that energy. Yeah, these are big, powerful muscles. That's why people can do this with 500 pounds. I've never seen 500 pounds, but it can be done. Let's walk it out, put the weights down. We're gonna come to changing things up a little bit. So we're gonna come to doing some balance. Yes, tough for many people. So being I have the chair, I'm gonna show how you can use the chair for two things. First off, to make this, if you can't balance and you really struggle, you can use this chair, just touching it, just to help get you into this. See, I'm holding this. I'm holding it with just 2 fingers. Maybe you need to hold with 3 fingers. Maybe eventually you'll just need 1. And maybe at some point you can let go. Just timing this, trying to hold this for about 30 seconds. Okay. Okay. Second side, again, showing with the chair how to make this more accessible. So again, I'll start with 3 fingers on the chair. I lift my leg up. And then maybe I'll go to two fingers. Down to 1. Maybe letting go. And if you want to make this harder, you can start waving your arms, like taking your arms around and up. Makes it very challenging. So progression, a slow progression, you can get to all these difficult levels when at one time you couldn't even stand on one leg for more than a couple of seconds without holding on. I'm going to make this, how to use the chair to make this harder. So I'm going to keep the chair on the same side, and normally I would switch legs, but I'm holding the chair. Again, I'm taking my leg up. This time I'm taking my opposite hand, holding the outside of my leg and turning to the side. And then maybe taking the arm up, maybe taking the arm back behind and turning to look towards your hand. Returning my hand, coming back down. Yeah, you'll feel a lot of this. It's a lot of strengthening for your legs. It stabilizes the muscles in your legs. Second side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm taking my leg up. My other hand comes to the outside of the leg and I start turning. Slowly bringing my hand from 3 fingers, holding on with 3 to 2 to 1. And maybe you could take without any hands, no hands. And maybe take the hand up and back behind you, then turning to look at the hand. And then turning the hand, coming back to stand. Okay, let's walk it in place. Yes, it is. This is a lot on the legs. Balance is so good to strengthen it. Builds strength and stability into the legs. It's different than walking. Both of which are really good for our nervous system. They're different, but they're very good. Walking also adds what's called the aerobicness, but the balance teaches us stability. Not underestimating how much this improves your nervous system. Okay, we're going to do some other squat, something that so we just get a full workout for our legs. We did a little bit on the inner thighs when we started. Stretch this time. I'm taking my feet wide. I'm going to turn my toes out. I'm going to start with my hands on the hips, and I'm going to bring my hips go back as I sit down. I'm going to either keep your hands on the hips, not on your thighs, and I'm going to come up a little bit, and then I'm going to go back down. It's a pulsing squat. You can take your arms up, and with the movement, a lot of intensity in the inner thighs. Okay, I'm going to bring my feet back together. I'm going to spread my mat out a little bit so I can put my hands on the mat rather than the floor. Of course, I always have my water bottle. Always good to, anytime you go to exercise, having a water bottle handy. I'm going to actually double the mat up just for this, just to give a little more cushioning for my hands when I'm doing the push-ups. Also, a couple of variations of the push-up. Again, so this way you can progress to maybe a full push-up. We started using a chair. As we lower down, makes it harder. Actually, we started with the band, which will help build the strength needed. Now I'm putting my hands on the floor, but I'm going to have my knees on the ground. So now the weight is not all the way in my arms, as my legs are helping, and I'm going to bring my torso down and press up. Will help this progression towards a push-up. I'm doing about 15 of these. I mean, if you find this to be very easy, yeah, you can do 15, 20, maybe more. And then I'll take a little pause, preparing for my full push-up. I mean, there's lots of ways to do push-ups that you can do to make it harder. We've already gone through a bunch to progress to making it to the regular push-ups. So my hands are about shoulder width apart. I'm going to straighten my one leg and the other, trying to hold a plank. My ears, shoulders, hips are in a line. Navel's drawn in. And I'm going to bend the elbows, bringing my torso almost to the ground and then coming up. Yeah, start off slow. Right? There's a whole progression, so you can make this harder by lifting one leg up at a time. But if you're in the middle of it and you feel, oh, okay, this is too hard, bring the knees down. And a way again to help progress this is which will help bring us into the stretching and core strengthening. It's called the downward dog. So in plank pose, my shoulders are over my hands. In the downward dog, my hips come back. And we're going to add on to this to start some core strengthening. I'm going to take my right leg up, bringing my knee into my chest. Inhale, I reach back. Exhale, I come forward. Come back to my downward dog. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other leg. Doing about 8 of them. I'm a little rounding as I come in, scooping my belly in. And just walk my feet in. Okay, I'll put the mat away. Well, it's not really away, but for now it's out of the way. As we're going to do some moving into a stretching and relaxation. So I'm going to start with just gently walking. Just allowing my heart rate to slow a little bit. You're welcome to do more of those if you want. You can always come back and do the stretching after doing them. Some people may want to do 10 or 15 of each leg instead of doing 8. Taking a little break and then doing another round. Okay, so I'm going to start with some basic stretches. So I do these sometimes sitting in a chair. Basic, but I'm going to go a little bit more difficult. I'm going to do this while standing. Another balance. I'm going to bend my right knee and grab the ankle. I'm trying to bring my knees to touch. Much better stretch. It's also getting more balance. Oops. Second side. Again, you can hold something for if you're a little unstable. Don't be afraid of being unstable. That's where we get better. Our balance will get better. The muscles will become more accustomed to correcting the imbalances. Okay, that's stretching the front of the thighs. Stretching the back of the thighs, not as challenging to the balance. I'm just going to, almost like a small lunge, I step my right foot forward, I bend my left knee, and I put my hands on the bent knee. My back is straight. Need to hold, I say at least, I think it's like 20 seconds minimum. And that will help you keep the fatigue. If you want to actually lengthen the muscles, you may need to hold longer. Switching, going to the other leg. If you don't have a clock, I like to just count to see how many breaths I'm taking. So I'll get more into that in a little while. Okay, coming up. So I count the breath. So I try to, lengthen the breath. That will help the relaxation. So I'm going to take a wide step out again, and I'm going to bend. This time I'm going to put my hand on the leg, on my bent leg, as I straighten the other leg. My hips are going back. My spine is not rounding. And I'm stretching the straight leg. And I'm going to come up and do the same thing on the other side. By lengthening the breath, you start to slow things down, quiet the nervous system down. Okay, I'm going to do some stretches for the torso. I'm going to take my hands, interlocking my fingers behind my back. I make my feet a little bit wider. I lift my chest. Stretching the front of my shoulders into the chest, stretching all along my torso. Okay, holding a little bit long. I'm going to make my feet a little wider. I'm going to switch the interlock of my fingers, changing it up a little bit. I'm going to, again, I arch my spine, and now I'm going to fold forward. I stretch the back of my legs as I take my arms up over my shoulders. Up. I release my hands to the hips. I come up to center. Okay. Stretching into the arms and shoulders. I'm going to take my right arm up. I take it across. I take my left hand holding the upper part of my right shoulder. I keep my shoulder down. It wants to come up. Just keeping it down. And a good stretch here. Holding this for a little longer. And I'm going to switch sides. Let's get my shoulders relaxing down as I'm going to try to progress these stretches into a more and more difficulty as you lengthen the muscles. When the muscles are good and warm, and you can lengthen them by stretching. You can progress into deeper and deeper stretches, and you almost need to, because sometimes you just don't feel like you're getting a stretch because you're used to it. Your muscles have adapted to that. Okay, I'm going to take my arms. I'm going to interlock my elbows behind my back. Deeper stretch for the front of the shoulders. So I'm really stretching more on one shoulder than the other. So I'm going to switch. I'm bringing my other arm on top. The one that was on the bottom comes to the top. And we're going to progress again. And this is stretching the front of the shoulders. I'm going to go deeper to stretch the back. I'm going to take my arms out, cross my right arm over the left, and I just wrap the arms. If you can't, you can do what we did before, or you could just come here. See how I get my elbows to cross? I can wrap my arms around. You should be feeling a pretty big stretch into your upper back. Whatever you're doing, if you're feeling that, fine. If you're not, you're missing the stretch. A lot of stretches for the shoulder. Then I'm going to release and go and do the same thing on the other side. Just a few more seconds. You should feel a gentle, little bit of, maybe at a bearable edge of discomfort, no more. Otherwise, go back to a previously stretches we did. Again, same thing with this one. This one's more difficult. I'm going to turn my back. I'm taking my right arm around my back, up my shoulder, grab my elbow. We did this before. You can do that again. Then to make this more challenging, you can take the other arm up. See if you can grab your fingers. You can use a towel or belt. A deep, deep stretch. And let's release and do the same thing on the other side. You'll find one side much different than the other. So, maybe if it's not really painful, you can do the one that's a little more uncomfortable, a little bit longer, and eventually it will become less discomforting. Okay, I'm going to release. I'm just going to shake my arms out, and your shoulders should be feeling much more loose and flexible, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.